What do I see when I look back at 2019? I see Boris Johnson punching the air at the defeat of Jeremy Corbyn, and I see Nicola Sturgeon clenching her fists in joy at the defeat of the LibDem leader Jo Swinson, and I see the hands of nationalism tightening their grip on British politics. How do I feel? Depressed. It wasn't all bad though. 2019 was the year we saw Julian Assange being carried out of the Ecuadorian embassy in London, and Prince Andrew's reputation being carried out of Buckingham Place, and milkshake running down Nigel Farage's suit, and Donald Trump being impeached. In many ways, 2019 was the year that took revenge on arrogant men. We like 2019 for that. As for what 2019 did for Scotland, I like that much less, although I do think some of the trends that started in 2018 have hardened into lessons about where Scottish politics is now. I also think we can make a few predictions about 2020. Let's meet here again in a year's time and see if I was right. Lesson 1. The nationalist vote is resilient, but so is the unionist one. Why on earth didn't the polls on independence move much in 2019? We had chaos at Westminster, Boris Johnson as PM, and there was a risk of a no-deal Brexit. Surely that should have been enough to send support for independence soaring, to the accompaniment of bagpipes? And yet, no. The polls in Scotland stayed much the same. Why this might be is hard to say, but some of it could be because people underestimate the views of a particular type of voter, the type that feels Scottish, British and European and doesn't want to choose. I got some help in understanding who this kind of voter is from a conversation I had in 2019 with the granddaughter of John Buchan. Ursula Buchan told me the great man was neither unionist nor nationalist but unionist-nationalist with concentric loyalties, and this type of Scot still exists. Like nationalists, they are attached to their country, but they make decisions on the economic facts. They are also unlikely to be impressed by the idea of putting a nation's interests first, whatever the consequences, as in Scotland first. I think this unionist-nationalist approach still represents a strong strand of opinion and explains why the SNP's slogans ring hollow for some people. It also explains why many voters are turned off by the independence marches. There were more of them in 2019 and, as usual, the marchers seemed to think they represented the majority. But perhaps the SNP should consider the voters who didn't march. Might they see the flags and hear the chants and think, these are not the people for me? The SNP is unlikely to attract greater support until they focus less on the mind of the marcher and more on the mind of the unionist nationalist. Lesson 2. Our political system is busted. We celebrated the 20th anniversary of the Scottish Parliament. For more on this story, visit the news article link.